Thank you. So, welcome to the second lecture. It's on symmetry aspects of unconventional superconductivity. And so, I will begin with a few slides, but then I will basically do a Blackboard lecture, so this slows me a little bit down. This may also give the danger that I cannot finish everything I want to. And if I'm too fast, I have something extra. So here is basically the program. We will talk first about the structure of Cooper pairs, angular symmetry. So this will be about Cooper instability. This is something simple. I think we need that. I need something simple because I'm terribly jet lagged, and probably several of you as well. And so we have an easy start. Then I talk about generalized BCS theory concepts in there. I turn into the generalized Ginsburg-Landau theory, which will allow us to spontaneous symmetry breaking, build more of the concepts of symmetry in unconventional superconductivity. Then I will look at the phenology of superconductivity due to broken symmetries, and the prime example I will look at is broken time reversal symmetry, because this shows up quite frequently. And at the end, if time allows, I will look at key symmetries. Key symmetries are the symmetries which we need to make the standard type of Cooper pairs. This is time reversal and inversion symmetry, but there are systems where these systems are not, these symmetries are not available, and we will look at what has this, what implications this has on the pairing state. Now the goal here is to learn the language of unconventional superconductivity, because this will be basically what you will have for 4 weeks. And so if I succeed to give you this, then I think I have done my job. So here is a little bit of literature. You have also a handout with my lecture notes. These are just very preliminary. That's how I just quickly typed it in LaTeX, and so without proofreading there will be a lot of mistakes. And so 2 weeks ago we started at ETH an initiative of critical thinking, how to teach students critical thinking, and then one of the ideas which came up is don't give perfect lecture notes, so the students have to think about what could be wrong in there. So here is also some literature which will help you to get the stuff which I will talk about. I learned my business from Tony Leggett, from this old review from '75, a theoretical description of a new phase of liquid helium-3. The helium-3 is basically the first example of an unconventional superconductor. It's actually a superfluid. Then there's a very nice book by Miniev and Samolkin, Introduction to Unconventional Superconductivity, published in '99. Then I have 2 reviews which I wrote for summer schools in Italy, an Introduction to Unconventional Superconductivity and an Introduction to Unconventional Superconductivity in Non-Centrosymmetric Materials. And so these are both as AIP, conference proceedings available, and so maybe we can also provide PDFs of these 2 lecture notes, and so they are a little bit lengthy, so we don't distribute them. Now let me just start with a few slides, just motivating what we are doing here, and so I start with a slide which you have just seen in the previous presentation by Mohit, because so here this is time versus critical temperature of superconductors, and so you see here we have a few superconductors, the conventional type of superconductors, which here are in red, but then in '86 we have this rapid rise of critical temperature for the cuprate superconductors. Then more recently the iron pnictides. Both of them are, so at least this one is for sure an unconventional superconductors this year. The iron pnictides may be from mechanism point of view unconventional, but they may have also conventional features in there. And then there is some stuff that usually gets forgotten if you look at this graph because it's far down and it's hardly visible on the scale, and that are the normal low temperature superconductors, heavy fermion, organic, and so on. And so let me just have a little bit of look in these novel superconductors. I mentioned heavy fermions and organic, so here I have two examples. The heavy fermion materials that are intermetallic compounds containing rare earth ions. These are, for example, here it is cerium copper to silicon. To this is the cerium. It has 1,4F electron, and so it is forming an almost localized Fermi liquid through some Kondo type of physics. I will not go into that. And so in 1979, Steglich and co-worker found that this material here is actually superconducting. And over time, people figured out what is the phase diagram of it. There is antiferromagnetism with a quantum critical point. There is superconductivity here. And there is a second dome of superconductivity out here where people still are puzzled about the mechanism. Some people say this is due to valence fluctuations. Then the organic compounds, they are already these are complicated, but the organic compounds are by far more complicated in their structure. They are low dimensional. They have rather complicated names which I cannot pronounce, and they, due to their low dimensionality, have actually a tendency to go to magnetic or charged ordered states. But under applying pressure, you make these systems more three-dimensional, and then they also become superconducting. So these were the early examples of novel superconductors which are potentially unconventional. People then explored the heavy fermion compounds further, and so one of the examples which came up is uranium beryllium 13. This is a rather dangerous material to produce because beryllium oxide is rather cancerogenic. And the unit cell is huge, it's over 100 atoms. And people found that as you dope this material by thorium, that you can actually get a funny phase diagram of superconductivity. So here is normal state. You have around 1 Kelvin as superconducting transition if there is no thorium in. Then you suppress superconductivity. You get another dome with a second phase transition here, and then you go back to probably this phase which I call here A. Here this type of phase, this red phase is type versus symmetry breaking, is presumably in a superposition of two different superconducting phases. So here it was already clear that we cannot have simple BCS type superconductivity. This would not allow for such a complex phase diagram. Also another uranium compound, uranium platinum 3, has a rather complex phase diagram here, temperature versus magnetic field. There is a double transition at zero field, and then we have also two phases in the mixed phase, in the vortex phase. Soon also people found out that actually these heavy fermion compounds have something funny. If you look at quantum phase transitions, then often these quantum phase transitions are covered by a dome of superconductivity. Here, in this compound, antiferromagnetism disappears here, and so it's assumed that this is, of course, related to the pairing mechanism, that magnetic fluctuations play a role here. Here another compound, cerium, rhodium, indium-5, also here you see that's the nail temperature, it goes away, and you get superconductivity around it. Actually, this cerium 115 family is much more rich than just cerium, rhodium, indium-5, so you can dope through the whole series. You get superconducting phases, you get magnetic phases, and this system here has also the property that it is fairly two-dimensional, unlike most of the other heavy fermion compounds which we have seen so far. Upon doping, you can, for example, also get here clear coexistence of superconductivity and magnetism. Here, this is a so-called D-wave superconductor, similar to what you have heard in the previous lecture. Also, some interesting cerium, cobalt, indium-5 arose due to the fact that at low temperatures and high magnetic fields, a new phase showed up, and this was considered as a potential FFLO phase, a full ferrule Martinov Chinikov phase, a phase which spontaneously modulates in space. This has not been completely settled. There is additional magnetic features are coming in here, which makes this very complicated and very attractive for research. Then the heavy fermion materials are so rich, they continue to keep us busy. For example, with the discovery of cerium, platinum-3 silicon. This is a so-called non-centrosymmetric material. You can see here this crystal structure is not has no inversion center. If you apply inversion operations, then these long pyramids are turned down, and so there is no set to minus set symmetry here. This has interesting implications, as we will see later. This gives the so-called rise to so-called parity mixing in the superconductivity. Now, after this material had been found, people looked up other heavy fermion materials they had in their drawer, which were antiferromagnetic, and so then they just used this recipe: suppress antiferromagnetism. If you look around the quantum critical point, there may be some chance to have superconductivity, and indeed here, for example, cerium, iridium, silicon-3 has a superconducting dome, and also these two materials are non-centrosymmetric. So we know phenologically somehow how to look for superconductivity in such materials. Then, so this is a material which has no inversion symmetry. So this inversion symmetry I just mentioned in the program is one of the key symmetries. You can also get rid of the time erosion symmetry, for example, by speed polarization or by looking at materials which are ferromagnetic. And here is another heavy fermion material, which is actually a ferromagnet. You can suppress superconductivity. And so common wisdom would tell you that superconductivity here actually should show up outside, just outside of this quantum critical point. That's the way people imagine it by theory, but the funny thing is here superconductivity shows up within the ferromagnetic state. It's something rather unexpected, but superconductivity can cope with it. Also, there is another compound, zirconium zinc 2 has a similar feature.
So,
also, yeah?
So in the previous slide, so why does a non-centrosymmetric compound give you a mixed hierarchy superconductor? Is it because of spin-orbit coupling?
That's spin-orbit coupling, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope I will get to that. That's the last part of this lecture, yeah. So also another ferromagnet becomes superconducting under pressure, that's iron. But actually it's not superconducting in the in the ferromagnetic phase. You change the structure, and so you get superconductivity in a different crystal structure, which is not ferromagnetic, but may have strong antiferromagnetic fluctuations. Well, this is also something which had interested people in the last 10 years. Then one system which we studied very thoroughly is strontium-2 ruthenium 04. This has a crystal structure which is very similar to what you find in the cuprates, and this is a good candidate for a so-called chiral p-wave pairing state. This is a topological superconductor, and so yeah, my Japanese colleagues have depicted this in that way. Chirality is expressed in by this arrow representing angular momentum, and these are spins here of the Cooper pairs. Equal spin pairing is represented that way. So I hope we will have time also to talk a little bit more about this. This is transition metal oxide. Another transition metal oxide which arose a lot of attention for superconductivity is actually sodium cobaltate. This is actually a material well known for a very high thermal power. However, if you intercalate it with water, then it can also become superconducting. And so this is still a little bit of a puzzling thing, how superconductivity arises here. What is the symmetry of the superconductivity in this case? And then we come to the high TC superconductors, so the one we have just looked at. So the cuprates, which have many different structures. The maximal TC is 134 to my knowledge, and so that's the basic crystal structure. We have layered structure, and so you have already heard quite a bit about it, and you will also during this course you will hear more about the iron pnictide, so I will also not dwell much on this, but so they have phase diagrams which also look in some way very similar. So there is antiferromagnetism and the superconducting dome involved, so this has also some similarity to the heavy fermions which I have shown before, but as I said, I will not go specifically to these systems. And then of course there's helium-3. That's the earliest of the examples of an unconventional superfluid. Here are two phases, the B phase and the A phase, and if you even allow for magnetic field, you get a so-called A1 phase, which is a non-unitary phase, and also that will be a part of this lecture when we look at the situation that time reversal symmetry has disappeared. So the magnetic field destroys time reversal symmetry, and then you can get another interesting superconducting phase or superfluid phase. Okay, so that's basically what I would like to do on slides, and so then I would go and talk about how to turn this off. There is a button here. Yeah. Okay, our goal is now to introduce the language and the concepts of unconventional Cooper pairing or superconductivity. And so let me just start with the first chapter, with the general form of Cooper pairing. And also the BCS theory. Is this readable until the back? Okay. Unfortunately, I don't reach right up there, but I hope this will be sufficient. So, of course, you all know the normal metal. Also, Williams before talked about it. And so the normal metal is basically, if we don't care much about detailed band structures, just say we have a band dispersion like 3 electrons. So the states are represented by wave vector and spin, and the pair wave and the wave function is just simply a plane wave, where we usually take periodic boundary conditions. Omega is the volume of a cube, and we take a periodic boundary condition in this cube, so the K is quantized, and so we have here an X and Y and Z. These N's are integers. And so now, if we take the normal metal state in the ground state, so the ground state, then we just fill the states up to the Fermi energy, so that's all stuff you know. And so C dagger Ks creates electron in this state with a wave vector K and the spin S. Now, when I look at the BCS state, then the BCS state, Bardeen Cooper-Schrieffer introduced, is a different ground state, and so normal metal may be unstable against such a state, which lowers its energy. And so the BCS ground state the way it was given by Bardeen Cooper-Schrieffer is just the sum over k. And we have a product over k, u of k plus bk, ck, spin up, dagger, ck, minus k, spin down, dagger, sign up. Now, this is a coherent state of pairs. So the particle number here is not conserved. So we are in the grand canonical ensemble. And so this is very similar to what we do when we look at Bose-Einstein condensate. So we don't keep the particle number fixed, but leave it open.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you call it coherent state because it's the eigenstate of the destruction operator of a Cooper pair?
Yes.
Or there is another, let's say, reason why you call it coherent?
I would say that's a fair definition, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
So that's the way I would also call a BEC, a Bose-Einstein condensate, a coherent state.
Because it's eigenstate of the destruction operator.
Exactly.
Thanks.
So that's basically, if I can introduce something which I can call a pair wave function. So this is finite. It would not be finite with the ground state of the normal metal. And so this here is given by uk times vk in this for this ECS ground state. And so if I can of course always write my states, my fermionic states in this way, just for the normal metal, it would be in a way that I have uk 0 or 1 here for k being smaller than equal kf, or here. So uk is 1 above the Fermi energy and 0 below, and v of k does just the opposite. So then you can see immediately that in this case we recover the state which we have here. Then we have only states occupied below the Fermi energy, and it's empty above. So U is basically then representing the occupation of the wall, the non-electrons, and V of that of the electrons. And of course, when we have this, then the product here is always 0. So then this would not be finite. Now, symmetry-wise, what is the condition for this pair here of states which we correlate through this coherent state? And so there is a key symmetry allowing us to produce this state, and that is time reversal. So time reversal operation, if I have a state k spin up and I apply time reversal operator, I get minus k down. If time reversal symmetry is a symmetry operation, or a symmetry of the system, then these two states are degenerate. And I can form pairs of these two states. They have opposite momentum, so the total momentum of this pair is vanishing. So this is one of Anderson's condition to make Cooper pairs in the spin singlet channel. We will come back to that afterwards. So we have these two states, the normal metal state, the BCS state, and so it was actually Cooper who in '56 showed that a normal metal state can become unstable against the formation of such pairs here. Still, this treatment was not showing that this would be a coherent state, but if we look at interaction of pairs, attractive interaction of pairs, then a normal metal state could be unstable against this. And so let us look at it. Yeah?
One question. So the time reversal symmetry is necessary for k up and minus k down to be degenerate. If you had just inversion and not time reversal, you would still have k up and minus k up degenerate, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So
but I could not rely on having k minus k down.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the presence of inversion symmetry but not time reversal, there's a triplet BCS instability, but not necessarily a singlet.
Yes. Okay, you cannot say generally, but so if we have time reversal symmetry, then I can always form a singlet pair. Yeah. So we'll see when I come to the situation where time reversal and inversion symmetry are missing, what are the implications and how, for example, without time reversal symmetry, that could be, for example, a situation you form superconductivity in a ferromagnet like the uranium-germanium-2, then it's hard for the electron to form singlet pairs. We have also something called paramagnetic limiting. So usually Cooper pairs are depaired by, so to say, their orbital motion by, you could say, Lorentz force. Lorentz force tears the Cooper pairs apart when they run around each other. However, if this force is too small, then it could be depaired by making the spin parallel. So spin polarization making anti-parallel spins parallel, and then the interaction is not working anymore, and the pairing is not working anymore, and they dissociate the Cooper pairs, and that's called paramagnetic limiting. That's also a consequence of the lack of time reversal symmetry. So time reversal symmetry in this sense, acting on the spins. Okay, so then let me come to the Cooper instability. And so I would like to do it here in a general form. And so I continue in the language which I have set up. So I have parabolic dispersion, and so I have now a field Fermi C in K space. And I add 2 electrons to that with K1 spin S and K2 spin S prime. Okay, let me take 1 and 2. Now, from beginning I request that we have to get 0 momentum, so their center of mass has 0 momentum, and of course I add them to the Fermi C, so they have to be in momentum higher than Kf due to the Pauli principle. And so now I introduce an interaction between them, so I have an interaction which is in some way attractive. And so you of course know from studying the BCS theory, the Cooper instability for the most simple case where you have an attractive contact interaction. And so here we would like to extend our discussion. And so we introduce now a pair wave function psi R1 S1 psi R2 S2, It shall satisfy the following Schrödinger equation. So we have the kinetic energy of particle 1 and particle 2. We have the interaction. And so that shall give us energy. Yeah, so here just the same arguments. Now, we separate out center of mass motion and relative motion. So very similar as we do in the case of a hydrogen atom. So in some way this is like a hydrogen atom that we have just two identical fermions, and these two identical fermions now, if we write now the wave function just in these terms here, then I can write psi R1, S1, R2, S2 in the following way. I write it as psi, phi S1, S2, just being depending only on the relative variable, and the motion of the center of mass is just a plane wave. We have translational symmetry, so we can write it down as such a motion here. Now Q is actually just K1 plus K2, so this is 0, and so this here is just, 1. So I have only this. Now, there's a next symmetry aspect coming up, which we can use. We have two identical particles which we put together, and so the Pauli exclusion principle now allows us to simplify or to characterize these states a little bit better. So psi S1, S2 of R should actually be antisymmetric if I exchange the two particles. So if R1 and R2 are exchanged and these two spins are exchanged, and they should be antisymmetric. Now, I can write this wave function also as a product of spin and the orbital part. So this is spin, and this is the orbital. And so now we have two.
This is the first time we've assumed no spin-orbit coupling?
There is no spin-orbit coupling. So whenever I use spin-orbit coupling, I will say, yeah. So now we have to satisfy this situation, and so we have two possibilities. The orbital part could be symmetric, and then the spin part should be can be antisymmetric, and then the spin part should be symmetric. Or we have the opposite. And so this one here is an odd parity state. And the spin configurations do not change. That's, for example, a state where we have up, up, or down, down, or 1 over square root 2 up, down, plus down, up. This is triplet, the spin triplet situation. And now I have a little problem here. And so this is spin triplet. So parity odd goes always with spin triplet here. while here is the parity even. And for the spin, we then have just the remaining configuration with a relative negative sign for up, down, down, up, and this is spin singlet. So we have these constraints, which we have from the Pauli principle, and so we can say if we don't have anything strange going on, then we can always only combine odd parity with spin triplet and even parity with spin singlet. And these two channels are generally distinct. So now we just assume we have a certain parity given for phi of r, and we ignore the spin part. The spin part doesn't show up in the interaction anyway, so we don't have spin-order decoupling. And so then I can write down now the new Schrödinger equation, just simply restricting to the relative coordinates. That's the equation which we have to solve. Now what we usually do is we Fourier transform that. And so the Fourier transforms you can find in the notes. And so I just write in K space, we rewrite this equation and it becomes a little bit simpler. So we have such a form. G of maybe I nevertheless should write what is G of K. Let me just write G of K is the Fourier transform of phi of r. So that's our wave function now. Now, we take further symmetry aspects into account. We have a full rotational symmetry in our problem. This is the group of 3. So we allow. So that's just the reason that I can do that is just that I assumed this simple free electron dispersion. If you have a real crystal pattern structure, then of course this rotation symmetry is not given, and then everything becomes a little bit more complicated. We will not do this at this level here. We will do it later when we discuss about phenological theory, Ginsburg-Landau type of phenological theories. But if you have this here, then we can classify by angular momenta. So our states will become eigenstates of the angular momentum operator, and we can write the interaction in terms of spherical harmonics. Where we use for k is just the modulus of the wave vector, and k hat is just the direction of the k vector. So that are the spherical harmonics for a given angle of the k vector or the k prime vector. So I can always write the interaction in that way, and then it represents in k space rotational symmetric potential. I have pairing interactions which here depend on k, modulus, and L. And then I can write the wave function also in such a form. Again, L from 0 to infinity, sum over m, so minus L to plus L, G Lm of k, y Lm. So this is a state, this is a superposition of states with given angular momentum, quantum numbers, and represented by the spherical harmonic. Now, of course, you know in a spherical harmonic system, when we have rotational symmetry, then the eigenstates of such a problem will be eigenstates of the angular momentum. So we will be able to represent them in this form here. L denotes an irreducible representation of O3 with dimension 2L plus 1. So if I do a rotation, I rotate by making a superposition with fixed L and different M. So if I have a rotation, G hat here is an element of O3, and I apply this to such a state here, then I generally get just a superposition. Of all m's, lambda of G hat, M prime. So I make a superposition of this. So L characterizes the angular momentum and the irreducible representation, and so we have different m's, and all states with different m's in such a problem would be degenerate. Now I have to solve this problem somewhere, and I think for this purpose I have to quickly clean up.
Sorry, just one question here.
Yeah.
In your GK, is your GLM dependent? The second last line.
This one? This is M dependent.
Okay. But it only depends on the norm of K.
It only depends on the norm of K. Because the angular dependence is all grabbed here.
But why does the GLM depend on M? If all angular dependence is in Y.
No, but so I expand here in YLMs, so I have here also both indices. So because the different m's may have different coefficients here, or different wave functions here. Eventually, of course, we will see that for our discussion we just need to pick one m. Yeah.
Another question on the line above, the VL and norm of K and K prime.
Yeah.
Why is it not K minus K prime?
It's not that simple if you do it that way. Of course, this would include such a situation, but in general, this is not the case.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, to solve the problem basically we have, well, I introduce some new parameters. I write epsilon of k, I replace by psi of k, which is measured relative to the Fermi energy. So this is h bars k squared by 2n minus ef. And then I introduce for the energy also E minus the left side the eigenvalue of the energy eigenvalue here will also be measured relative to the Fermi energy. And for VL k prime, now I write VL psi k prime. Since this here is only depending on the modulus of k, then I can do that. So that's just for convenience, and also since GLM is only depending on k, I will also just say this is GL of psi of k. Then for the sum, here I will introduce the integral, which I can do that way due to the Fermi boundary conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is a too technical question, but I think my previous question is on the expression of the vector k minus vector k prime.
Yeah.
How can you show on the right hand side is only depend on the vector difference of k and k prime? Looking at the right hand side, when VL is a general function of two arguments.
It's of course not general.
Restricted.
It is of course restricted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I understand.
Yeah. So, but I can write it like that.
Yeah.
An easy way to see it, I think, is that it's got to be a function of just the norm of k minus k prime, the vector.
Yeah.
Rotational symmetry constrains that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that norm has the
Norm
angles
of
and it
k
has
minus
the
k
product
prime.
of the magnitudes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your critical thinking. So now I can continue and replace this here through an integral over psi when I introduce the density of states that I will, and the angular integral of this form, and then the density of states here is defined by 1 over omega sum of k delta psi minus psi k. So now I go and rewrite the Schrödinger equation in this way. And so, as I said before, due to the fact that I have here L as a quantum number, which denotes these different theoretical representations, this is a quantum number which is also will be a quantum number basically going into the energy, like this is the case in the hydrogen atom. And we have actually also for the spherical harmonics, we have this orthogonality relation here, that if I integrate over the angular part, then if I have of the two spherical harmonics with the same argument but with different indices L, M, or L prime, M prime, this is satisfied these orthogonality relations here. So if I use this, I can show that I can restrict myself now to a single L and M channel. M because all different states of the representation are degenerate. And so I get an equation which looks like this. 2 psi minus delta E, GLM. Here would be, in principle, the argument xi plus an integral over xi prime and xi prime GL, and now here I also write xi prime GLM xi prime is equal to 0. Now, here usually we do the simplification that we say density of states, the structure here is not so important, we replace it by the density of states at the Fermi energy. And V L psi prime shall be restricted to a region very close to the Fermi energy only, and so we call this small nu L minus, because this finite if xi and xi prime are in a range restricted by a cutoff energy and 0 otherwise. If I look at psi here is 0, then I restrict the interaction between these two energies. And so only here we have nu L, a constant value where this is finite and it's 0 or outside. And we assume that this here is much smaller than epsilon f, so that this condition or this approximation here is not a strong violation, or is actually justified. So now we can solve this type of equation, so we can rewrite this here. So I just took this here over. On the other side, I do this integral here. So then I can solve, so I can, in principle, solve this equation for GLM of xi. Now here, basically, I have just replaced this by a constant in the range where I'm allowed, where this is finite. This is finite below epsilon cutoff. And 0, the particles which we have looked at, we have said they should lie above the Fermi energy, so xi should always be larger than 0. So I have here this integral range here, and I call this now and just a number ILM. And this is only true now, in addition, again, for the region where xi is above 0 and smaller than epsilon c. Otherwise, VL would also be, nu L here would also be 0. So now I take this solution which I have here, and I calculate now ILM, And ILM is just integrating G LM over psi in the range of from 0 to epsilon psi. And so I can insert this, and this is ILM nu L. Integral between these regions, psi prime over psi prime divided by 2 psi prime minus delta E. Now, I can, the standard thing is usually to look at this graphically. So here is 0, and so here in this axis I insert this. Now if I insert this as an integral, this is a little bit hard, but I can of course turn this integral into a Riemann sum. So I can make a sum over psi prime, 1 over 2 psi prime minus delta E. And then I have discrete values of psi prime. So I have here such discrete lines. And I can now insert, sorry, this is not psi, this is delta E. And now I can plot this as a function of delta E. That's this here. And so on. And then I have here a branch which looks like that. So I'm sure you have seen such a picture already. And then now, if we look at this, I can have here a cut. If this here is negative, I have of course cuts here everywhere. This is the continuum of solutions which I have for adding these two particles interacting. Their energy is slightly modified, but they are still in a continuum. And then I have here a bound state. Sorry, this must be here. So if this here is negative, so I have here a bound state. So this is for nu L being smaller than 0, and I can have the same thing if nu is larger than 0 up here, and I would not have a cut with this additional branch which comes out here. And so we have here the situation that now we get an energy delta E, as I state, with energy delta E which is smaller than 0, and this means this is an energy lower than just simply adding 2 free particles above the Fermi energy. If I add 2 particles above the Fermi energy, this should be, of course, this is smaller than just having these 2 particles above the Fermi energy. Oh, sorry, I should plus, so minus epsilon f. Let's do. So I get here this bound state if nu L is smaller than 0, and I get no bound state if it's larger than 0. So what I can say, you get a bound state below, oh sorry, this is 2EF, did I come here? So this is also 2 epsilon f. So below the below 2 epsilon f. So this is the so-called what we call the Cooper instability. So we get an energy smaller than just what we would expect adding 2 free particles to it. If it's repulsive, then this is not the case, then we have these particle states always above the energy of the, so above the this twice the Fermi energy.
I have a question.
Yeah?
So, this argument depending on the dimensionality of the system, or this is general for any dimension?
This is in principle general for any dimension. Yeah. And so we have a bound state which we can now calculate. We can actually do this integral here. And so what we get is minus ILM and not nu L divided by 2 times logarithm of E of delta E minus 2 epsilon C divided by E delta E. And so now if I assume delta E to be rather small, also much smaller than the cutoff energy, then I can forget this delta E up there, and I get for delta E roughly minus 2EC e to the minus e to the 2n not e to the minus 2 divided by n naught nu L, where nu L is smaller than 0, so I can also make here modulus nu L. And so this is finite for any negative mu L. Now, of course, you have seen this calculation probably for L equals 0. And so now here, so this is like the electron phonon interaction, which I will just talk on shortly. And here we have now generalized it to higher angular momentum. And so in principle, I can get for any finite angular momentum, I can get such a Cooper instability if I have an interaction where in the decoupling here into these angular momentum channels here, I have an attractive, so if I have an attractive channel, and so if I have here in such a rather simple-minded approximation here, I have a negative value for this coefficient. I have an attractive interaction. And so let me just quickly, before now going there, so now for each L we can in principle have such an instability if nu L is smaller than 0. And so now symmetry-wise now I should again say here something. Now L of course says something about the parity. So the bound states which I have now have the character Lm. We have a 2L plus 1 degeneracy. And what we have is, we have the parity minus 1 to the L. So now what we can say is, if L is equal 0, 2, 4, and so on, so if L is even, we have even parity, and that gives spin singlet pairing, and if L is 1, 3, 5, this is odd, and so we have spin triplet pairing. So in a connection with the labeling of angular momentum in, for example, hydrogen orbitals, we also often call this L equals 0 S wave, the D, and it's the 2D wave, and then there is also G wave for 4. And for 1 we call it P wave, then we have F wave, and probably the 5 is H wave, but that's then quite exotic. So when we have pairing in some, when we have such a bound state or such a Cooper instability in one of the L channels, then we can also immediately say whether this would be a spin singlet or a spin triplet pairing state. Now let me quickly do 2 examples just to show you really how this might show up. And so the first example is just what I called before electron-phonon interaction. Electron-phonon interaction, that's usually considered as a contact interaction. So, let's call it B naught. So that's the most simple form. Now, ignoring now any kind of frequency and so dependence. So it's a contact interaction. So in that sense, if I now look at B of k minus k prime, I would have mu naught C prime I would have something in the L equals 0 channel. I would have, and this would be finite only between the cutoff frequency, which are the dBi, or the cutoff energies, which are the dBi energies of phonons. So in this case, just is the simple standard L equals 0 case. So this is what we would call S wave. And of course here we have also S equals 0 spin singlet. And so that's what basically BCS with the BCS wave function also wrote down. You couple two particles with opposite spin. Now let me take a simple example of a repulsive interaction. And I write it here in quotation marks. So I, for example, can just write down now VVK prime is y psi prime. That are the corresponding energies, or I simply write K prime. Times K hat minus K hat prime squared. Now, V of psi prime is now written as nu being larger than 0 or 0 if we are here within the cutoff or otherwise. Now, so we have a purely repulsive interaction here. This is positive, the free factor here is positive. And so now, let me look at this here in following way. So now I basically rewrite this. This is nu times K dot K prime. So this is nu times twice 1 minus K times K hat. So K hat squared is a 1. And so I have now this. But now I can rewrite this as a 8 pi nu I can expand it in spherical harmonics. So this is the first term, 2 times 1 can be expanded in the 0, L equals 0 spherical harmonics. And the second one is now expanded in L equals 1 spherical harmonics. And so now, what I call this here, mu naught, which is larger than 0, and this one here, I call with the minus, I call mu 1, which is smaller than 0. So basically a simple example at first sight, repulsive interaction can nevertheless have an attractive angular momentum channel. And so when we look at this channel, this would give us now a situation that we have here for nu naught, the situation that the nu L here is larger than 0, and we would not cross here the bound state branch, but we would here go into the empty, and we would not have a bound state. So no Cooper pair here. And here we would have a negative eigenstate, and here we would have a bound state. And this would be a bound state with L equal 1 and S equal 1. So we would have a p-wave state here. And so when we have an anisotropic interaction in some way, so not a non-contact interaction, then we have to analyze it carefully, and we might find a channel where we can have an where we can find form a Cooper pair. So this is now just an exercise to show basically the same way as the Cooper instability was showed for the S-wave channel, that the normal metal, when we have an attractive interaction, is unstable. It can be, for more general interactions, it can be unstable in any other kind of angular momentum channel, at least in the case when we assume that we have spherical symmetry, then we can use angular momentum as a good quantum number to classify the states. Okay, now, are there questions up to here?
So,
Yeah.
I have a question, just in terms of this phenomenological interaction we introduced here.
Yeah.
This looks like it should be not that terribly ungeneral in terms of if you had a repulsive interaction, a repulsive peak, and then it only has some repulsive peak at a particular value of momentum transfer, and
Yes.
then it falls away, right? So this would be something that comes from like ferromagnetic fluctuations.
This would be something which you can generate in that way. Ferromagnetic fluctuations. This would be in susceptibility Q square, curving the expansion, and then you would have exactly this. So, but of course, just at first sight, it looks repulsive, and so people were actually a little bit surprised when they realized that this is the case. Also, for the D-wave case, you can show, and I think this will be probably shown during the course by other people, that there, if you have, for example, spin fluctuation type of driven pairing, then you have a momentum transfer for going, so to say, make a 90 degrees hop of Cooper pairs. And this exactly matches with L equal 2. So that would be actually a good exercise if you have time during this week. You can try to set up a repulsive interaction which gives you a pairing L equal 2. Yeah?
If I understood correctly, if any channels have negative interaction, then the material itself is superconducting. So in that case, you can have in general can have negative interaction in higher order of spherical harmonics. And why most of then in that case why most of material, when the metals are not superconducting. So what else we need to take into account to the breaking of this kind of pair?
You are right. In principle, when the L equals 0 channel is blocked, then you can go in any other state.
Yes.
And many materials do that when so L equal 0. Of course, the contact interaction is always in conflict with the Coulomb interaction. And so there is this concept of retardation, that the phonons attract at a much longer time scale than the Coulomb interaction acts, and so we can get around this. But when we have strongly correlated electron systems, these mechanisms does not work in many cases, so these energy scales are not necessarily so different, and then you have to escape into another channel. But of course, when you go into higher channels, then this often goes just down in the critical temperature, except, for example, in the high temperature superconductors, of course, for different reasons. There is also the Coulomb-Lattinger theorem, which shows you that for a purely repulsive interaction, you can get pairing in higher angular momentum channels. But these have terribly small critical temperatures. So you need some special situations, so spin fluctuations or other type of fluctuations which help you to boost this interaction.
By purely repulsive, you mean just a constant positive number for interaction?
It could be just simply Coulomb interaction type of interaction.
Just for the pair interaction.
Yeah. Okay. Then I see I have only 15 minutes left, so I will now just start a little bit with the setup of the generalized PCS theory, on which I will continue tomorrow. And so just treating two particles, of course, doesn't make a superconductor. And so I would like to now to introduce the Hamiltonian, which we will use to treat PCS theory, so the formation of Cooper pairing as a many-body state. And so this Hamiltonian consists of the kinetic energy. Let me here immediately introduce psi in order, so that simplifies things a little bit. So we have kinetic energy, and now I introduce here a general form of pairing interaction, where I restrict myself to just Cooper pair scattering. And then by pairing, or by matrix element here has beside momentum also spin indices in general. So this is the standard pairing interaction where we have here, for example, particles in momentum k and k minus k, momentum k prime minus k prime are then scattered into states with momentum k and minus k. So you just do this. So this describes this process here. So this V k prime S1 to S4, and so of course if you have this here, you see immediately this should satisfy this matrix element should satisfy certain conditions. If you exchange two particles here, if you exchange, for example, these here, then you should get a minus sign. So if, for example, these two are exchanged, so k goes into minus k, k prime remains, and then S1 and S2 are exchanged, and S3 and S4 remain. And so you can take all kinds of combinations as it is written down also in the lecture notes. Now, this is a problem where I have interaction among, so I have a many-body problem, I have an interaction among these fermions, and so one way of dealing with this is the mean field. Is a mean field approximation, and so we introduce here, for example, for C minus Ks, C K S prime. Primes, the nodes. So you introduce a mean field here. This has now index k and s prime, and so you do the same for the Dagger mean fields, and then you can write down a mean field Hamiltonian as you do generally when you do mean field approximation. So this P of k and k prime, P of k prime and s prime, that's then just considered as the mean value of these two operators. This is somehow very similar to what we had before, where we did it with the, where we had calculated this expectation value here using the BCS wave function. So this is, in that sense, like a pair wave function which we had before. So now I can write down, I insert this here. And I rewrite this in following way. So let me write this and explain afterwards. Plus term k. So now what I have done is I have here doubled this term. I take a 1/2. The first term looks still like the kinetic energy which I have here. And for the second term, for practical purpose, we will see this tomorrow, I turn it into the language of wholes, so I exchange it to operators. And so then I will have here a constant taking care of the remaining term which shows up here when I do this procedure. But this is essentially up to a constant. This is the same as the kinetic energy. And then I have here introduced mean fields. And I have only now, I keep only two operator terms. So dagger, dagger, or non-dagger, non-dagger. So this is now basically the important thing for Cooper pairing, that I have finite a mean value which has corresponds to a finite pair wave function as it comes out when I have the variation function of the BCS state. Now k here is minus 1/2. So here, basically all the, so here all the s's are in, and then I have here v and all the arguments b, k, s2, s1, star, e, k prime, s3, s4, plus 1/2 sum k, s, psi of k plus something small. That are the fluctuations which we usually leave away when we do mean field calculations. And the delta of k and s prime is now 1/2 sum k, k prime, v, k, k prime, s prime, s3, s4.
There's no sum over k, right?
Oh, sorry, no, there is a sum over s3 and s4, sorry. And then bk, s3, s4. And then the same thing can be done for the delta star of k and s. And so this here contains now this.
Right, that's k prime there on b, right?
That's k prime. Yeah, thank you. And then is the sum is also over k prime. And so this delta here is now what is showing up here as a pair potential So it gives a potential for these operator pairs here. Now you see, of course, immediately this here produces two particles, this destroys two particles. This cannot be finite when we stay in a simple canonical picture. So that's why we have to go into. We will get eventually a coherent state when we deal with this problem tomorrow. And this here will be our self-consistent equation, which we have to solve when we do the mean field calculation. So now, what is coming in new here compared to the standard BCS theory is basically that we have here a rather complex dependence on momentum and speed. Generally, the simple BCS theory has here just a constant, the contact interaction, which depends on the energies, so that we can again take cutoffs like we have done over here. So when we have something like that, that gives us the simple picture which we have from standard BCS theory, just a constant here. The spins here are up and down, so forming a singlet state. Okay, so tomorrow we will then see how we get the quasi-particle spectrum out of this, or the generalized BCS theory. And then we can also see, for example, what this delta means. This delta will give us the gap function. This is the gap in the excitation spectrum, and we will see that this will be, in general, then anisotropy. We can have zero nodes, like you have seen in the talk this morning. So for the E-wave superconductor, where we can have excitations down to lowest energies. Okay, so then I think I have used up my time. And so, are there questions? And otherwise, you can just grab me sometimes. I can try to tell you. Okay.